You are in control of
We are
Triple C?
in charge, we're in control of the Triple C.
So why did you recall your members?
Sorry?
Why did you recall your members?
Which member?
The MPs that were recalled, the councillors that were recalled.
You know, blessing, that our MPs, we cannot, it's only people who did not put in effort who can make that kind of reckless.
But you said you're in control.
We are in control.
Yes, but so if you're in control, you're the one who's recalling.
No, it's not us.
There is one Triple C. But within that Triple C, there's an animal called Triple C without structure.
I don't know something called the Triple C, because in my own definition of a political party, there is no political party called Triple C.
This is the Free Talk.
What was the main opposition is now probably something that most of us don't even understand. The Triple C is in 6s and 7s following the resignation of Nelson Chamisa as its party leader. But before his resignation, there was a bloodbath, recalls, instigated and initiated by Sengezo Chabangu, who was then the self-proclaimed interim Secretary General. He has now been assimilated into the Triple C that is led by Welshman Mure, albeit on a rotational basis, with who we are yet to see. The other side or the other faction of the Triple C is led by Jameson Timber. Now, Jameson Timber is a former Deputy Minister of Information in Zimbabwe and served in the office of the Prime Minister during the inclusive government. He joins me in this, the Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom, to discuss the intricacies behind the scenes. What is happening in the Triple C, if at all the Triple C is there? Now join me, your host as usual, Dara B, as we discuss politics, people, and power. On this, the Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom. I want to welcome here on this, the Free Talk, Jameson Timber. You have been charged with leading the Triple C, but as it stands, the Triple C is headless. It has got two warring factions, if I should say. And please just kindly explain to us what is happening in this so-called Triple C.
Well, I would not agree to the notion that the Triple C has got factions. Following the resignation of the founding president of the Triple C on the 25th of January, the highest policy-making body of the Triple C, which is the Citizens' National Assembly, which is a representative body of all districts in the country, met to deliberate on that resignation and to take action with respect to the vacuum which had been created as a result of the resignation of Advocate Nelson Chamisa. And the Citizens' National Assembly unanimously selected me to provide leadership to the organization. And then post that, in and around the 17th of February, one Jacob Mafune appeared on TV or somewhere, nominating Professor Welshman Mube to be a rotating acting president of the Triple C. This is almost 20 days after the Citizens' National Assembly had already dealt with the succession issue within the Triple C. In doing so, he made a claim that a certain standing committee 29 structures of the MDCA have met and made that rotational presidency decision, which was a bit strange. I happened to be part of that leadership myself of the MDCA of 2019. I never participated in that meeting. And I've got lots of colleagues who also said we never had such a meeting. So therefore, I would like to state categorically that the CCC does not have any factions, and that it is currently being led by me, but there is, however, a claimant to the leadership of the CCC from Professor Mngbe and his colleagues.
I mean, where did you guys stop working together? You know, because I seem to understand that you were working together, you were campaigning together as the CCC when you went into these elections. What happened?
Your guess is as good as mine. We were working together as a team. We went to the elections, and then they emerged some character in the name of Sengezo Shabangu, who then claimed that he was an interim Secretary General of the CCC, and on October 3, he recalled a significant number of legislators from our party. He also repeated the same feat in November 14, I think, and continued to claim that he was an interim Secretary General. We never had such a position within the CCC, and we were all shocked about that development. It is only recently when it then came out that Professor Mngbe and Sengezo Shabangu had kissed and met up, that we then realized there was actually some relationships which were happening parallel to the process of the party itself that we were not aware of. And only 3 days ago, Mr. Mafumi was confirming that they have now accepted Sengezo Shabangu as their Secretary General. So it appears that there was a parallel organization or parallel processes taking place outside the normal processes.
And that parallel process has defeated you, hasn't it?
No, it hasn't.
No, but you were recalled from Parliament at the number of legislators where you have no control of this party called CCC, do you?
We do. Let me put this into perspective, Blessed. Section 129K of the Constitution, which is actually the recall clause, said that a party can write to the Speaker doing two things. One, advising the Speaker of cessation of membership, and then subsequent to that, a recall. But if you look at the judgment by Chief Justice said that each party must establish an administrative office from which a recall can be made. The former president of the CCC had written to the Speaker and the various state institutions to say any communication regarding the tenure of members of Parliament of the CCC should come from him. That communication protocol was not respected. Up to now, we do not understand why the Speaker considered correspondence other than from the leader of the organization. You will also be aware that this matter has been put before the International Parliamentary Union. We have questioned the Speaker to say, but how did this happen? The Speaker says, no, I have not seen the letter. But subsequent to that, the Speaker saw the letter and he still acted on a letter which was coming from somebody from the street. So one wonders the extent to which there's been connivance, between individuals and state institutions in destabilizing the CCC. I would not call it a defeat. I would call it an abuse of processes within the country.
Yeah, but the abuse of processes in the country have left you in 60s and 70s. There is no CCC to talk about, is there?
There is a CCC, and let me put it to you. All the organs of the Triple C are functional.
We're doing what?
Including, if you just give me time. We are running 33 out of 34 urban councils in this country. Only a month ago, I was having a meeting with all our mayors countrywide, talking about our local government agenda. So our local government processes are going on, and we're managing processes within the various towns and cities that we control. That's number one. Number two, we, outside the persons brought in by Sengezo Shabangu in Parliament, we have a significant number of parliamentarians that we have who are advancing the agenda of the Triple C in Parliament. In addition to that, and most importantly, we appointed the leadership of Parliament that is currently running parliamentary processes today as the Triple C. Therefore, in that regard, we have got control over the party.
I spoke to one legislator and they told me that the situation in Parliament with the Triple C legislators that are there is so toxic and that it's actually so bad that people in your party don't even see eye to eye or even share food.
I would not want to comment on things that have not been brought to my attention, blessed. But I would also want to say that you must take into account that the parliamentary caucus of the Triple C has been contaminated, because post the recalls, you must know that there are MPs which have been brought in as a result of the processes which were started by Sengezo Shabangu.
There's some MPs also who are alleged to have been calling Sengezo Shabangu in the middle of the night, burning the midnight oil, asking for him, begging for him not to recall them. Do you also take those into account?
There's nothing to take into account, and I'll tell you why. Sengezo Shabangu cannot do any recalls post what he did, because there exists now the High Court interdict that we secured against him so that he does not do any recalls up until the challenge to his original authority to have done the first two recalls has been determined by a court of law. So Sengezo Shabangu is unable to recall any member of the Triple C, whether in Parliament or in Council. And it is myself who went to court on that matter representing the Triple C, and I was granted that interdict against Sengezo Shabangu.
You spoke to me about the CNA. That you said that's the highest decision-making board. Where was the CNA, when all this was happening? I mean, you were called structureless, and that structure did not come up until after the recalls.
That is not correct. We must be able to separate fact and fiction in this political discourse. The Triple C had, during and before the elections, functional structure, which included our CNA. The final candidates which we sponsored to participate in these elections were approved by our CNA in terms of our candidate selection process. In a meeting on June 15th took place at Cluster Oasis of the CNA to approve those candidates.
You said you were working together with Washman Mule. Washman Mule says he doesn't know about these meetings. In fact, he said that the party did not have any meetings prior to the elections and after the elections until Sengezo Shabangu.
I would want you to be able to direct questions to Professor Ngube. And by the way, I've got lots of respect for you as a person, as an individual. But my recollection is that Professor Ngube was assigned by the CNA to lead our cluster in CESA. And there is public video evidence of him campaigning in CESA for and on behalf of the party, having been assigned to do so by CNA. The CNA has been meeting every month, and the record to that, those records for those minutes and for those meetings are there for inspection.
You also only brought out your constitution after the court challenge. Why were you hiding?
We were not hiding our constitution. But Blessed, I would like to say to you that we are operating in an extremely difficult environment in Zimbabwe. Let me take you back to our days when we were in another formation called the MDC. What used to happen is that we would go and announce that if you go to Gweru, okay, and you want to see the chairperson of our branch, the chairperson of our branch is so and so. Immediately that person is profiled by the police. Each time a meeting takes place, whether or not that person has committed any crime or not, they just go straight to the address of that person, and that person is taken out. We say, as we approach this election, it is important that we operate in a manner in which we minimize the risks to our various functionaries throughout the country. And that strategy, I can tell you that it worked for us. What was there was somebody was saying you did not have structures. No, we did not have non-structures, but we had functional structures throughout the country. Otherwise, there was no way in which we would have been able to successfully run this campaign.
But look, you say you had functional structures and you had a constitution that named an individual to say this person is going to be our president. And as a result, when he resigned, there was a vacuum. I mean, what kind of political party does that?
Let me take you back to the Constitutional Amendment number 19 of the Republic of Zimbabwe. It named Robert Mugabe as president, in as much as it named Morgan Tsvangirai as prime minister, Asam Tambara as deputy prime minister. In the Constitution, there's nothing amiss with the naming of an individual in a transitional arrangement. What we did was that because we were founding a new organization, separate from our old organization, the MDC, okay, we named the person who was our founding leader in that constitution. There's absolutely nothing amiss. And I've already given you an example. We did it in this country.
Let's talk about this founding leader and founding. First of all, how did you arrive to say that this is the president of this party without any electoral process? How did Nelson Chamisa find himself as president of the Triple C?
Nelson Chamisa became the founding leader of the Triple C. Let me take you to the events leading to that. On the 22nd of January in 2022, having just started political processes post the opening up of the country after COVID, we found ourselves in a situation where we did not have a political home. That political home had been taken away from us by the Supreme Court judgment of March of 2020, when the effective control and direction of the MDC and the MDCA's variant was given to Douglas Monzora, Morgan Komichi, and Thokozani Kupe. Then we had a group of individuals who, for want of a better description, became partyless or stateless, or if I'm to draw an analogy, who became Palestinians. Because when Douglas and Toko took over this party, they took everything. So we then remained without a party. Then there came COVID. There was no political activity, almost 2 years. Then political activity comes back. We then gathered and said, you guys, what then do we do? We are facing a by-election. What had necessitated that by-election? That by-election had been necessitated by the fact that Douglas Monzora had dismissed a good number of us, including Nelson Chamisa from the MDC, and myself. Yet they recalled a significant number of MPs who had stood for elections under MDC. By-elections were created, and we had no political home. We then said, what do? We don't have a home. So this group of individuals who shared certain beliefs, they did not have a political party. They said, what do we do? They said, listen, we would like to assign Nelson Chamisa. As an individual, we would like to assign Nelson Chamisa to determine a way forward for us. We are leaving it in his hands. This is how Nelson Chamisa became the founding leader of the institution that he then thought should be established to create a home for the homeless political persons who had been declared homeless by a Supreme Court judgment.
But after that Supreme Court judgment, you admit right now that you were declared homeless. After the Supreme Court judgment, you guys were stubborn, adamant, and you continued to call yourself MDC Alliance. In fact, I held an interview with you, and you said that the MDC T is what Douglas has taken. The MDC Alliance is something that is totally different, a different political party from what the Supreme Court had decided and determined to give in the hands of Douglas Monzora and Thokozani Kupe. Today, you're saying that you became homeless. Now, at what point did you realize you were homeless? Because you guys were stubborn and adamant and refused to acknowledge the fact that you were homeless.
The net effect of the judgment, the net effect of the Supreme Court judgment was that the MDC and all its variants were now under the effective control of Douglas Monzora. We initially, and you're correct, objected to that. But having objected to it, we went to court. Remember, blessed. And when we went to court, there was a judgment. And one of the judgments was just by Justice Chitapi. Justice Chitapi ruled that the MDCA, that we were saying we were, was not a legal persona. So yes, you're correct, that post the judgment, that was the position that we took. But then there was a subsequent judgment by the High Court to say, you can't hold on to the MDCA because it is not a legal persona.
Why didn't you just make it a legal persona?
At that juncture, Douglas was also claiming the MDCA. So that's why we went to court. And we lost that battle in court. Having lost that battle in court, we therefore became homeless.
What kind of political party leaves its fate in the direction and discretion of one human being? I mean, you said you sat down. I don't know who you sat down with, but how do you as Democrats sit down and say, Nelson Chamisa, decide for us?
That in itself is a democratic decision. Blessed. If the 20 people who are sitting here unanimously agree that they want to ask Blessed to go and do a particular thing, that to me is a democratic decision in itself.
You guys have believed in building institutions, not individuals. And therefore, this goes against the grain in everything that you tell your supporters you're fighting for. This individualization that you've just done, you just did.
But I don't think you're being fair. We assigned an individual to give ideas and directions on the formation of an institution. That's what we did. We assigned an individual to a task. And that's what happened.
And once that individual resigned from that political party is disintegrated.
No, the disintegration is not a result of the resignation. The disintegration is a result of the incessant attacks that have been made on the party by individuals. We have enjoyed the support of the state.
You do agree that the CCC is disintegrated?
The CCC is not disintegrated. This CCC.
But you just said.
Wait a minute. The CCC has suffered severe attacks from proxies of its opponent, ZANU-PF. That's what has happened. In a normal country, there's absolutely no way. And I'll give you a good example. A gentleman called Kumaro wrote to the independent electoral body in South Africa to say President Zuma cannot be this and that. And the electoral body was very clear. We listened to the leader of the party. Our independent electoral body has not been able to do that in this country. And we should be asking ourselves the question, why? If I were to come to AMH and then say, we are not going to be listening to the MD of AMH, but we would listen to the assistant administrative manager of AMH, there's something fundamentally wrong with that. I think the issue that we should be putting for discussion in this country is, what is it that our institutions are doing?
But is it wrong for the institutions to have behaved like that? Because I seem to remember and recall that from the time Sengizo Shabangu started doing his recalls up to now, then leader, undisputed leader, who even Sengizo Shabangu acknowledged was the leader of the CCC, Nelson Chamisa, never filed a single affidavit in court to say, I don't know Sengizo Shabangu, he's not my Secretary General, and I'm the president. Why didn't that happen?
It's just confirming to you that, contrary to what people have been saying, that the CCC is a one-man band, okay? That the CCC as an institution, the CNA made a resolution in the presence of one advocate, Chamisa, that it was assigning myself and assigning my other colleague, our national organizer, Honorable Amos Chibaya, to represent the party in all its legal proceedings. And that was a decision of the CNA. They did not assign the leader of the party to do that. They assigned two functionaries, either one of us, to be able
But does
to do
it
that.
make sense to you that at least an undisputed leader of the party, whose face was on every logo, was supposed to depose an affidavit to simply say, look, I'm the president of this party, and this person is not my Secretary General?
By the same token, I do not see any reason why any other functionary of the party could not do that.
I mean, that's why you lost all your cases, right?
No, that is not correct. Let me take you back to the first case that we supposedly lost, which was before Justice Mutevezi. Justice Mutevezi said he could not determine this case in the absence of the CCC as an entity being party to the proceedings.
And that makes sense, doesn't it?
Ordinarily, in the normal course of business, the judge would have unilaterally joined the CCC to the proceedings if he could not determine a matter because of its absence, not to dismiss it. And this is the basis upon which we have appealed against that judgment. Because if a judge cannot make a determination because a certain party who helps make a determination is not there, more remote the judge can join that party. And that didn't happen.
But why did you leave that technicality? I mean, it is common cause. It is common cause. I've watched you go to court on behalf of the MDC Alliance. You've never gone to court without the MDC Alliance as a party.
But we've subsequently also gone to the court as CCC. Let me put it this to you, Blessed. There's nothing wrong in candidates participating in an election to go to court to assert their rights. They don't necessarily have to be accompanied by the party. It is an option that they can use, but the other option does not necessarily take away their rights. They can still approach the court in their own right.
Some people believe that, in fact, let me rephrase this. Sengizo Shabangu actually said that the president of the party, then Nelson Chamisa, and other members of the CCC were working with him. This is why the president didn't depose an affidavit to simply say we are not part. He's not the Secretary General.
That is, those are blatant lies. The working with the president of the party is documented. So you've got a Department of Elections which was working with the president. We've got our Department of Administration which was working with the president. There's correspondence that indicates that working together there with the respective officers. I would like you to ask Senator Shawam to give you one iota of evidence that he was working with that of the National Service. Doesn't.
So let me take this further. The allegation goes further to say that your president, as he was then, Nelson Chamisa, and most of you guys were actually working with ZANU-PF to ensure that ZANU-PF's hegemony and power is entrenched as it is right now.
I think it's the most outrageous thing that I've heard. We went to an election and contested against ZANU-PF. We ran a vigorous campaign against ZANU-PF. We faced the most difficult election in recent memory, where voters were asked to come and vote at 4 o'clock in the morning. How can somebody even make the suggestion that we're working with ZANU-PF to extend its aid? I think it's preposterous.
You left too many loose ends. You tried to hide your office bearer. It came back to bite you. You failed in court on technicality grounds. Something like you just were so lazy or conniving to ensure that these things happen. Why would you do that?
I don't think that we left too many loose ends, as you put it. I can say to you that we planned for this election the best way we could. But there are certain things that definitely we did not budget for. We did not budget for the fact that, for instance, ZEC, after it had made a promise to international observers that it had finished printing ballot papers and it would deliver this on time, it would fail to deliver. It would fail to deliver ballot papers to a place like Warren Park. These are things that nobody would have planned for. But these are things which happened in that election.
Your president in Bedbridge stood up and told his supporters, and told Zimbabwe that you as a Triple C had rigging, busting moves. And he said that ZANU-PF was not going to rig this election. You were rigged, as you are saying.
That's why I'm saying.
Why do you make bold assertions that you can't back?
That's why I'm saying, blessed, who would have thought that ballot papers would not be delivered until 4 o'clock? We've done everything else except thinking that these guys would just keep ballot papers at their offices. And they did that. This, I don't think anyone had anticipated, including, everyone trusted. ZEC is done, and we also checked. We had meetings with ZEC. They said everything is in order. These are what has been printed, the ballots for this. We had checked all that. And then on the day in question, they simply just did not deliver them. Surely we would not have anticipated that. We would not have humanely anticipated that.
Let me take you to recent headlines where your colleagues, also colleagues, Walshman Mule, who is the president of the Triple C, on a rotational basis, I'm not sure who he's rotating with, but he's going to be getting the political financing fund. Let's talk about that.
I think let's start where we should start. The claim to the acting president of Professor Walshman is predicated on a mandate of another political party, the MDC Alliance, the MDC 2019 Congress, which took place on the 19th of May in 2019. term of office for that leadership expired on the 18th of May 2024. So, assuming somebody wants to accept that he can claim the leadership of the XPC based on that, that too expired on the 18th of May. There is no legitimate, constitutional, and or legal claim to the leadership of the XPC based on the leadership of another political party. The MDC has its own constitution, the XPC has got its own constitution. There's no relationship between these two institutions. As for the issue of the political parties finance act, I think I've made it extremely clear that the issue of the political parties finances is a function of the law. The party which sponsored candidates in the August 2023 elections, based on their share of vote, is the one which is entitled to the political parties funding. This is not a decision by Minister Siambi Siambi. It is not his decision. That decision was made by the voters during that election. His is a fiduciary duty to administer that fund on behalf of taxpayers. It is not him who decides who gets what, when, and how. Because that decision was made, it was done so in terms of the law. We were the sponsoring party for those candidates.
I mean, how do you prove that you're the sponsoring party? Because Walshman Mule also claims to be the sponsoring party. Chabangu has claimed to be the sponsoring party. And in fact, the court has agreed with him and has allowed him, first of all, to recall, second of all, to remove people from the ballot who claimed to be part of the CCC.
The sponsoring of candidates is proved in the following. One, you go back first to the selection of those candidates. We have the details of the selection of all the candidates that we did. And I challenge you to bring any one of those two persons that you have mentioned to come and sit here with you to show you that evidence of the candidates that they selected. Number two, the sponsoring of candidates is also a function of the signing of nomination papers, of which I have the record. And I would ask you to call any one of those two to come and show you evidence to say that they nominated the following 210 candidates. I have it. Three, the sponsoring of candidates went beyond the legal aspect to the financing of nomination fees. I have the record to say I paid the following for the following candidates. And I challenge you to ask any of those two to come here and show you that. That's an evidence. It is that which entitles one to get access to the political parties finance act, not the decision of a Minister of Justice. This is a matter that we are ready to take to court because we can prove our sponsorship of those candidates.
And are you taking it to court?
At the appropriate time.
You have argued that the courts are captured, and now you seem to have fresh vigor and confidence that you can take this matter to court and win.
Don't put words into my mouth, okay? I believe in the rule of law. I have been unhappy with some of the outcomes that have come from our courts. I have disagreed with some of the judgments that our courts have made. But I verily believe that courts must be there to resolve disputes and provide justice. And personally, this is why you have seen me going to court, because I still believe in the court system. I might not get justice today, but eventually we will get justice.
Let me bring you to the crux of this dispute, because this appears to be a dispute within the political party, within brothers who have worked together, people who have been in the trenches together. Now, I want to understand firstly from you, why do you think that this dispute is there? Were your Ellsworth colleagues, Walshman and who is leading them, Jacob Mafume? I mean, when Douglas Mwonzora took the MDC, Walshman Mube stood there with Nelson Chamisa, including Jacob Mafume, and you fought shoulder to shoulder. But now you are fighting each other eyebrow for eyebrow. Why?
Blessed, I'll take this down to human nature. That in any struggle, there will always be contradictions. As a struggle evolves, it is unfortunate that you get to a situation where brothers or sisters fight. But that's nature. Sometimes people get into differences. Some of the differences are reconcilable, and other differences are irreconcilable.
Some have argued, I mean, some actually say that within the same political party, that Oshmi Mube is now a ZANU-PF agent, a sellout. Do you agree with that?
I would not want to be labeling individuals. I would like to address myself to issues. But I can tell you one issue that I disagree with the positions that have been taken by the professor and his colleagues. For instance, the extension of the term of office of this parliament and the current government to 2030. I differ with that as an issue. I don't want to be then labeling this individual this or that, but I can say to you, I differ with you on this on this aspect.
Are you saying that there's an agreement that has been made that is there to extend the term of office to 2030?
There is no agreement. But what I can tell you is that there is a public statement that has been made by their erstwhile so-called spokesperson that elections must be postponed from 28 to 2013. And that statement is attributable to them. And I say I differ fundamentally with that.
Is that legally possible?
Whether it is legally possible or not, as a political position, I have difficulty with it. This country is going through a very difficult period. In any normal democracy, where there's so much contestation as we are experiencing, one should actually be advocating for an early election so that whoever is in government should go and seek a fresh mandate so that you can re-establish a social contract to move the economy forward. So if you then hear somebody who is actually proposing something opposite to that, to say let's extend the term, when you've got the challenges, these serious challenges that you're facing, then there's a serious, call it ideological difference between us. But I would not want to label a person. I differ with that position.
Some argue that Nelson Chamisa and those who were around him worked seriously or vigorously to exclude other colleagues and comrades. One of those that you worked to exclude was Tendai, and most of the people who came from the PDP. Why were you doing that? Why were you excluding your own colleagues that you have been working with?
But Blessed will state that as a fact.
It does look like a fact.
Okay, and unless we can put evidence on the table. Let me say that if we look at the source of the allegation of these so-called, the source of these allegations was our candidate selection process. We had an open candidate selection process where everyone was free to go and participate.
But that was a primitive. I mean, in this day and age, where people stand in a line, I mean, were you not embarrassed by that?
But let's deal with one issue at a time. Yeah, let's deal with the issue of exclusion. Everyone who wanted to go and participate in our candidate selection process was free to go and to do so. Okay? The president or the party did not determine who can participate and who cannot participate in that process. It was the citizens in a given area who would say, we are nominating so and so. And whoever was nominated, okay, was allowed to go and participate. But what you cannot do, Blessed, is that if somebody has voluntarily participated in a process that has been agreed, and then the outcome is not favorable to you, then you then say that amounts to exclusion. I think that would not be correct. Then let's now talk about the issue that you raised to say, why did you use the method of dividing the house? We're calling it dividing the house. Okay? To say people are wanting to choose a candidate by consensus.
Let's call it what you called it, Berekamana.
No, that's what you're calling it. I called it dividing the house. To say you've set in a house, there is an issue, okay? we are proposing that we would like candidate A to be there. And then people say, no. There's no consensus on candidate A. So now let's divide the house. Those who are for candidate A and those who are candidate B. And the process that was used from one area to the other differed, but the principle was the same. At the end of the day, the candidate who must emerge there is that particular candidate who has the most support of people from that area. That was the principle. So I think let's go to principle rather than to the actual method. Both those methods differed from one area to the other. But the principle was, let's have a consensus candidate.
But there's a reason why there's a secret ballot. And one of it, especially in Zimbabwe, where political tensions are very, very high, is to ensure that people are protected and there's secrecy as to who they vote for. And this primitive manner, you want to give it decency by calling it divide the house, but at that time you call it Berekamwana. And it exposed a lot of people to threats, to fears, and therefore cannot be called a fair way to select candidates. And for a party that claims to be a democratic champion to do that, you should be embarrassed, aren't you?
But Blessed, I should say to you that I said there were various methods that were used in different areas. Okay? In one area, people would move from one room. Those who support this person go to that room. Those who support this person go to that room, depending on the infrastructure in that area. And also in certain areas, people did a secret ballot. What was key was the principle. The principle was, let's have a consensus candidate, or the candidate who is supported by the most. I would say to you, it is a fair criticism to say where you actually say go and stand behind the candidate appears primitive. That's a fair criticism. But that was not universally used throughout the country.
But then let us talk about you said let's talk about evidence. Was it therefore a general consensus within your supporters throughout the country that those who are associated with the PDP must be paid? Because all of them who were in the previous parliament and who had come through the PDP were actually paid, who were legislators at that time. I will talk of Kukakapulu, Settlement Chikwin, Tendai Biti, and a host of others who were here in Harare. They were all paid. Was it therefore a consensus by your supporters that these should be excluded?
I would not use the word paid.
Removed?
No. They did not get the support of the majority of the people in those areas. But let's also not look down upon the judgment of our various electoral colleges. Okay? There's also this view that we've had people who have been in parliament for 23 years. Can't we have a change so that others can also come in? And the question that I would probably pose to those who are making that allegation, could the persons that you've just given me as an example, would they fall under the category of those people whom citizens felt maybe had overstayed in parliament and there was need for fresh faces? I would not know. But to then say there was paging of former PDP, I would say that is not correct. I think people were given an opportunity to choose their representatives, and they did that.
Now, let us discuss about ZANU-PF right now. After having emasculated the Triple C, there is now talk about extension of the president's term of office. In fact, there have been slogans from ZANU-PF, 2030, Butonga. What is your view on that aspect?
I think, let me repeat myself, that we are totally opposed to the postponement of elections from 2028 to 2030 to extend the current term of this government. This country is going through a very difficult period. any normal democracy should actually be advocating for an earlier election rather than a later one. People are having difficulties, others are having probably 1 meal a day. This economy is not functioning. The social contract has been broken. People need to re-establish a relationship with their government. You do not establish that relationship by extending the term of office, but by actually shortening it. The government in power must go back and ask for a fresh mandate because we've got a crisis of confidence in this country. So what you actually do is you should be advocating for the opposite of what my erstwhile colleagues are proposing.
Do you have an answer to this? Because, I mean, you've been dribbled in every election, in every process. You've been dribbled. You were dribbled in the 2017 election. You were dribbled after the elections by Douglas Monzo. You were dribbled in the 2023 general elections. You were dribbled after the elections by Chabang. And you are going to be dribbled if this plan goes ahead, aren't you?
There's been a consolidation of authoritarianism in Zimbabwe since 2017. We are facing an immense challenge as members of the opposition, as ordinary Zimbabweans, to push back on the issues taking place in this country. That includes issues of high-level corruption. That includes issues of misallocation of resources. Like now, we are building 18 villas for heads of states who are coming to be here probably for a week. And then you build 18 hours when our hospitals don't have medicine, etc. That is totally unacceptable. We will continue to push back as an opposition to oppose those things which are not right for this country. And we will use whatever legal platforms that are available to us. That includes both parliament and the street.
You don't have control of parliament, do you?
We do not have control of parliament, but we do have absolute control of our voices in parliament. And we will raise those voices. The fact that they have stolen a two-thirds majority is not going to stop us to raise all the critical issues which are affecting citizens in this country. And we will continue to push back.
How many legislators in parliament do you have right now that are loyal to the cause that you represent?
Other than the legislators which were unlawfully brought by Senator Shaba, they stand by this cause. Other than those few legislators who I might not know by name, who are buying this facade or this proposal of postponing election to 2013, they believe in the cause that I'm talking about.
How do you know they're few?
I think I'll probably tell you how few they are after this interview.
Why? I mean, you're a political party. You must be open to the people, because I'm not the one who votes for you. The people that are looking at you right now.
I can tell you that the majority of the MPs, CCC MPs, support the people's agenda. And the people's agenda is not to extend the term of office of this government.
Let me just do this. You have very senior legislators who are in parliament. One of them is Charlton Mwende. Is Charlton Mwende supporting the cause that you're talking about or not?
I would want you to be able to have an opportunity to speak directly to Charlton Mwende, as you rightly said. That is a senior member of parliament. But I can tell you that the last interaction of Charlton Mwende that I saw, he was actually trying to get some support for the constituent members of Guadzana, where he's an MP. And the agenda that he was pursuing there was effectively a citizen's agenda. As to the broader issues, the broader political issues, I'd like Charlton Wendy to be able to speak for himself.
But I heard that, he was part of the meeting that put Welshman Mure as the acting president. I mean, Jacob Mafume said so.
But that meeting, Jacob, I think Jacob met with himself and made that announcement. Because there's no single person that I've met, that I've worked with, who attended that meeting that Jacob talked about. And I remember in your interview with Jacob, he tried to say that Charlton Wendy was gonna come and see you. I never saw that happening. But I've not heard any confirmation myself directly from Charlton Wendy that he participated in that meeting. The last I knew at the material time that Charlton Wendy was actually in the meeting.
In your view, do you think that the people of Zimbabwe still have an alternative voice that can speak for them? Because this one, in my view, looks like it has failed.
The people of Zimbabwe have an alternative voice. And any voice that does not speak to the language of ZANU-PF is an alternative voice for the people of Zimbabwe. And that can never be taken away. An alternative voice is actually an idea rather than the name of a political party. The idea for change is in itself the alternative that the citizens will pursue.
So Nelson Chamisa has announced that he was resigning from the CCC, but not from politics, and that he was going to bounce back. Now, do you see yourself in the future as CCC contesting against Nelson Chamisa, who was then your president?
What I see ourselves doing is contesting against the ZANU-PF and everything that it represents.
I'm asking you about Nelson Chamisa directly, and I expect a direct answer.
Let me start by saying that I don't want to speak for Advocate Nelson Chamisa. But the views that have been expressed publicly by Advocate Nelson Chamisa in terms of the Zimbabwe that he envisages, those views and those ideas are not in conflict with mine or ours. Therefore, we can only be in contest with those views that disagree with ours, and those views are held by ZANU-PF.
Are you in any way at this particular point, present point, working and collaborating with Nelson Chamisa as he plans for his future as a politician?
Advocate Nelson Chamisa, he said that once he has got any plans regarding his future, he will announce them himself. And as far as I know and understand, he has not made that announcement.
I know you were a secretary in his office and his advisor in the MDC alliance. That is, are you still that close?
I don't know. Close as
professionals, as politicians, and personal.
Advocate Nelson Chamisa is an individual who has made a personal decision to resign from the CCC, and I would like to respect his decision and also respect his privacy. He has also indicated that he will announce the next steps himself. And up until that happens, it's extremely difficult for anyone to make a comment without going ahead of his own personal views as a leader and also as a citizen.
But look, I think you owe it to the citizens of Zimbabwe to be fair with them, right? We have seen your organizing secretary, Amos Chibai, who remains an organizing secretary of the CCC. I mean, I've seen him at press conferences. He's been going around the country, making people wear blue and telling them that Nelson Chamisa is going to come with a blue movement. I mean, there's been his picture there, and people have been, and you have not fired him for joining another political party. So you know what's happening. So you owe it to your supporters, to people who put their vote to the candidates that you claim in this interview you sponsored as CCC, to explain to them what you're doing with Amos Chibai, with blue, with yellow, and with the future.
Blessed, I thought you were a Democrat.
I am.
Surely I cannot prescribe what people are going to wear in terms of colors, whether they wear yellow, they wear blue, or they wear those are people's choices that they can exercise. There's nothing that our organizer Amos Chibai has done to date that has offended any of our regulations that would call for any form of action from the leadership of the party. But surely I can't be sitting down here talking about green, yellow. Surely we've got much more serious issues to talk about.
Mm-hmm. So from the time you took over leadership as CCC leader of that faction that you are leading, what is the plan forward for the CCC?
First of all, I would like to say I have great difficulties accepting this concept of faction. If we accept, blessed, that post the resignation of Advocate Chamisa, the body that is supposed to deal with this matter dealt with it, we cannot be a faction. There is a claimant to the leadership of the CCC by some individuals. But we can't be, and we are not. We are not a faction. Going forward, what are we looking at, Blessed? We are going to continue to engage the citizens of Zimbabwe with respect to the challenges that have been faced in the various communities, which means we are going to be engaging citizens in their various communities, but also in the platforms that we are operating, whether it is in our councils, to make sure that citizens get the services that they need and demand. We are also going to be engaging on the citizens' issues in Parliament, irrespective of the what has been done to us through the unlawful actions of an imposter. That is not going to make us abrogate on our responsibilities to the citizens of Zimbabwe. We will continue to be their voice until there is change in this country.
Who in 2028 is coming? Who's going to be your presidential candidate?
That's too early.
Are you standing?
That's too early. At the end of the day, like what we did in the 2023 election, okay? We gave each community an opportunity to nominate our presidential candidate. And Advocate Nelson Chamisa was unanimously nominated in every ward in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, but I just want to think, just want to understand, are you even considering that you could be president of this country?
You know what? I would say that's too early to tell. We have to deal with immediate issues. You're talking of, you're thinking of an election, and I'm thinking about how are we going to ensure that half the population of this country is fed, because I don't think these guys in government are up to the task of mobilizing resources to make sure that the impact of the drought is mitigated.
Are you up to the task?
Yes, we are up to the task. We are up to the task in the sense that because we are able to do proper advocacy, which they cannot do.
You can't do it for your own political party.
No, we're not doing it for the political party. We're doing it for the country. And the forums for doing that are there.
What are the forums?
the forums we can engage internationally with the United Nations and these agencies to be able to highlight, because we are working in those communities, the challenges that are actually being faced by people in those various communities.
Amazing. I think we've run out of time, but as I normally do, Senator Jameson Timber, anything that I might not have asked you, but you feel heavily that you need to address to the people of Zimbabwe, it's an opportunity for you to talk to them and have that conversation. Just briefly.
I would like to say basically that as CCC, we do appreciate that the people of Zimbabwe are undergoing extreme difficulties. The economic challenges out there, blessed, are extremely difficult, and people are not taking them seriously. I would like to say that as CCC, we will be totally opposed to a situation where there is an elite pact between a few individuals who sit in a boardroom and then make a pact to extend their stay in government. We believe that there must be inclusive dialogue in Zimbabwe, which must involve all stakeholders to say what is it that we need to do with our country and how do we get out of the challenges that we have. The social economic challenges that Zimbabweans are facing are a result of the political problem. And unless as Zimbabweans we are ready to face this challenge together, but in an inclusive fashion, we're not going anywhere.
I want to thank you very much, Senator Jameson Timber, and wish you the best of luck in what you're doing. But people of Zimbabwe, this is and this will always be the Free Talk. Now, on this, the Free Talk in partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom, we ask the questions that matter. We get to the crux of the issues. The so what? This is our lifeblood. Zimbabweans need to talk to each other and not through each other. And this is the platform. And this is the gift that we give to this nation to build it. Now, I am your host as usual, Dara B. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and set up notification on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook, so that you don't miss on our quality conversations. Until next time, thank you for joining me and my crew and my guest here, Senator Jameson Timber. Until next time, ciao.